Did Michael D. Magee fake his paranormal content? Well, that's what we're going to be looking at today. For anyone that doesn't know, Michael D. Magee is a very, very large YouTuber with well over 334,000 subscribers. And his videos, he was one of the first people to kind of touch base on paranormal encounters, okay, over on YouTube. He started his career a very long time ago, well over like 9 years ago. Some of his oldest videos even date back to 13 years ago. And that's kind of where things started, and he kind of just progressed, and then he went on a very long hiatus for about literally like 6 years, and then he came back recently, and then he's kind of disappeared once again. But this is not going to be me, quote unquote, debunking Michael D. Magee, because I'm not going to go through the video, sift through it and be like, this is how this was done, specifically you can see this, that and the other. Because I used to create paranormal content very similar to Michael D. Magee, what I wanted to do was provide insight on how I would recreate his paranormal content should I try to attempt it, okay? And maybe that might provide a little bit of context onto how it may have been created. So I'm not actually saying Michael D. Magee is fake at all. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is if I were to try and recreate the content like I did in my house, this would be how I would do it. So we're just going to sift through some of Michael D. Magee's older videos and just see what we make of it. So first one we're going to take a look at, I wanted to show some stuff where things moved. So this one in particular, around 4 minutes 14 seconds long. Let's take a look at it.
Hi guys, so I went ahead and I bought the K2 meter. It's basically an EMF detector. The basic premise being that ghosts are said to give off electromagnetic energy or like disrupt the electromagnetic fields.
That is true. It is said to be able to do that by most ghost hunters, but it is very, very easily manipulated. I used to do it all the time for our videos. There's very easy ways to manipulate a K2 meter, especially if you've got like an Apple Watch, if you've got like or even just any smartwatch, if you've got a phone, which most people do, if not everyone. So it's easy to manipulate.
In the air, and this thing's supposed to pick that up. It came recommended by quite a lot of people, so I thought it was definitely worth the purchase, even just to try it out, really. What I propose to do tonight is I'm gonna use this to try and communicate with the second spirit that I think is haunting me, the male spirit that told me to be careful during that EVP recording. I'm basically going to set this down with the fruit bowl as soon as that seems to get a lot of activity. Don't ask me why. I'm going to set it down with that and ask this spirit to move the fruit bowl, and or even just to interact with this, just to show that he's willing to communicate. And basically I'll take the communication a little bit further from there if we catch anything. So let's get to it.
Okay, here we go. Let's have a look.
Okay, so we'll turn that on there, like that, showing up okay. I'll lay this here. Basically if this goes off, you can at least see it. Now I'm talking to the spirit, the male spirit, that told me to be careful before. I would like to communicate with you. I just need to know that you're willing to communicate back.
Okay, so I'm going to bear in mind that this video came out 9 years ago, alright? So obviously the technology available was not the same as the technology now. It's not dissimilar, massively, but, you know, what iPhone were we on back then? It was like the iPhone 3GS or something crazy like that, right? Maybe even the iPhone 4, 9 years ago. Damn, that was actually 2015. Oh my god. I'm just having a reality crisis right now that was actually 9 years ago, was 2015. When I put it like that, it doesn't seem so long ago. That was probably the iPhone 6, Actually, right, scrap that. The technology available back then would have been very similar to the technology available today, so I'm going to scrap that.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to leave this fruit bowl on the floor here and this device down here. Please feel free to come and interact with it. If I find anything, I will try communicating further.
Okay.
Right,
let's have a look. Okay, so straight off the bat, this is something that I used to do all the time, okay? This is, again, please don't think that this is me saying that Michael D. Magee has absolutely done this, that there might be a ghost in his house, but if it were me creating the content, I would have used this screen here, this 14th of November 2014 symbol. Obviously, the last we saw was Michael D. Magee walking upstairs. This right here provides an opportunity to essentially like move, like basically stop the camera, go back downstairs, go off camera, okay, put this in as almost like a way to move the narrative forwards. That's how I used to do it, okay? And people would think that I was upstairs, when in actual fact, I've just stopped the camera, come downstairs, moved off camera, and this just provided a little bit of a cover story. You know, it's like, oh, we're not going to show you a 5-hour time shift, so let me just tell you a random time, 1:24 a.m. for example, like Michael's done here. And as far as you're concerned, I'm up in bed, but I'm not really. It's only been 5 minutes. It's actually, you know, 9:23 p.m. But I've told you it's 1:24 a.m. So who, like, you know, how can you even second guess it? So that's how we used to kind of do it, and it almost provides a bit of cover for me to be able to go back downstairs. So that could be something. So what I mean by this is, this could just all be the same shot. Michael could have just walked downstairs, cut that part out where he's cut it out. Instead of it looking like there's a firm cut, put something in the middle to make it look a bit more fluent. I mean, obviously, we've still got what could be lights, like a torch. It could be a lamp. It could be daylight, for all we know. Who knows? But it's 1:24 a.m. It could be a street light outside. But, you know, yeah. Okay, K2 meter going off. Now, I will say, the K2 meters have a tendency to go off on their own. They will just go off, and I've noticed that before. And then you just kind of add that into the narrative of the video, or at least I would. I'd be like, whoa, are you trying to communicate with me? Whatever. But in this instance, there's multiple ways that you can make that K2 meter go off, and there's multiple ways that I would have as well. Like, Michael could be, for example, just down here, just off camera, or he could have his phone just off camera, and you know, he could get someone to send him a text, which would then send a radio frequency or an electromagnetic field frequency to his phone, and that would disperse around the room, and that could trigger this. Notifications, because my social medias are quite, like, busy, any notification that came in, like, my phone would just go bzz, 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 bzz all the time. I had to turn notifications off in the end. It was doing my head in. But that can also trigger EMF meters to go off. So, you know, there's a possibility there. And down here, people would think, like, oh, no, that's not close enough. It is. Trust me. It is close enough. Okay, again, if I was to recreate this, I mean, just a bit of thread probably on that little corner crease there, off into this distance. Ping a text to your phone, that's going to trigger that, and then I'd give that a little tug, and it would look like something is in this vicinity, because this has moved and the EMF meter's gone off around the same time. So it would be like, oh, okay, you know, there must be a spirit there. That's how I used to do it, at least. And the reason I specifically think it's this piece, like, that could potentially be wired, is because whenever I created stuff, obviously you've got an anchor point, okay, and it's gonna, obviously if you're pulling at something in a specific direction, it's gonna pull from the anchor point. Something notable from our house would probably be the chair, for example, that I showed in a previous video a couple of days ago. You'd have it tied to one leg specifically, and if you pull that thread, it's gonna pull from the anchor point. You know, not to teach you to suck eggs, but that's how you suck eggs. Now, if I was to make it rotate to make it look like it's different, I would have two pieces of thread, right? And if this were me creating this, because I've done this before to make it look like it's being pulled in different directions, so people don't think it's just me doing it. It can still be me off to the side of the camera, over in this region over here. And what you have is just like a pulley system. So you have one piece of thread that's directly attached here, and you give that a pull and it moves up in this direction. And you have another piece of thread that loops around what I can only assume is a coffee table over here. It loops around one of the legs and again comes back around behind the camera up here. So if you tug one piece of thread, it's going to move in this direction. If you pull another, it's going to move around in this direction. Does that make sense? Okay, brilliant. So there's that video. Again, that's not me saying that this is definitely fake. It's just saying if I were to recreate it, that would be how I would do it. So that's one video. Another one that I wanted to pull up for you guys is hang on, where's the Kinect footage that he used to do? Because the Kinect footage I always found really interesting, especially on Michael D. Magee's channel. But it doesn't mean that it's... Like, there's a lot of ways to manipulate it, because I used not a Kinect camera per se, but it was the Ghost Tube SLS. And the way that I manipulated it was pretty straightforward when you kind of know how. So I think this is the footage that I'm thinking of. Let me just have a little gander through the video quickly. Where is it? Is it this one? Just trying to see if... Did it... I think it was this one. So, let's have a look. 8th of February 2016, 1:43 AM. So this definitely looks like it's an Xbox 360 Kinect because of all of these dots. If you've ever watched Paranormal Activity, the movie... Like, you'll know these dots. One of the creepiest scenes in that movie. Right. That tapping, if that were my house, like just behind my fat head over here, there's a washing machine. Now... You know, we used to, if there was like the dishwasher was on or the washing machine was on and there was like a tap, we would say that was the spirit doing some tapping. But, you know, if it's consistent, you probably realise that actually it was the washing machine. Like there was something like a metal, what's the end of like a shoelace, you know, like drawstrings on like jogging bottoms and stuff. Like, is it an aglet? Yeah, if that's like tapping around, you can hear it. Okay, so for me, that would have been very, very simple. You know, just off camera, over to towards the side, over in this direction, piece of string, give it a firm enough tug, it will open up and then it will just rebound back. Yeah, that's how I used to create that. Again, it's the same cupboard door, so... Right. So we saw a little glimpse of an SLS figure here, which is very interesting, because that's making me wonder if... like, if that were me, I could have... Well, I probably still would have done it with string. But then I would have added other parts in. I'll explain what I mean in a moment. Cupboard door. Okay, so that SLS stick figure, right, is actually like, well, it could be one of two things and there's two ways that I used to do it. Number one is an overlay. So what that means is you kind of get footage of your stick figure and you just put it in post-production over the top to make it look like there's a spirit in there. I've done that a couple of times. Or number two, which is the easier option, is quite simply a green screen. And like, I literally used to walk around in a green screen morph suit. I looked fucking ridiculous while I did it, but you know, I thought I looked sexy in it. That's just me. You would never know because you never saw it, but you know, basically what you do is you just stand here, and very, very simply, you just have two layers. So the first layer would be like this, where it's just a blank canvas. And then the second, and then you just have that on the bottom. And then over the top, you'd have the new footage with you in a green screen suit, right? And what that would do is as you put this over the top, you basically scrub out the background, and what you're left with is just this. Now, it's really easy with something like this because it's just black and white. So you haven't got to match up like certain surfaces, and because sometimes the images can get a bit distorted and you can have like a bit of a double vision look where like for example let's have a look. So this stove, like you know, extractor fan, that would be doubled, so you've got to try and get rid of that and line up the shots again. But in this instance, it'll be quite straightforward to just scrub yourself out and just and then all you'd be left with is this red. And because it's red, obviously you wouldn't get rid of that. But then you're probably wondering, well, there's green dots here specifically. You can choose two different like colors of green, so you can remove certain shades of green. So if you've ever seen the SLS footage from my channel, the stick figure itself was green, so that posed a bit of a challenge for me. But then I learned that my morph suit and the green on the stick figure were two completely different shades of green. So when I learned that you could just remove one shade of green, or one specific shade of green, it didn't get rid of everything else. So that could possibly explain this, if I were to recreate this, of course. Again, very similar story with it up here. Obviously, you're probably wondering why it doesn't show up on here. Probably because this is just could possibly just be a still image. Like if I were to do it, I would have this as a still image, and then I would like just have this overlaid, because obviously, you know, we don't really see too much change here unless something opens or closes. Obviously, again, I had this problem as well where like when things like would pop in, so like this just kind of popping in, I don't think it would, like, mine never left this kind of green plasma, we'll call it, around the outside. Now that doesn't necessarily mean that this is fake. That could just be how the 360 camera works. I'm not educated on the Kinect camera enough to understand it, but that's just how I would interpret this. Is this was just a blank canvas, and then this part's been overlaid over the top, and that's how I would have done it as well. Okay, so There you go, a couple of videos from Michael D. Magee. Again, this is not a definitive debunking session, because I don't class myself as a debunker. I think I just kind of sit in the middle where, like, I report on the drama, but also I know how to fake things. So, you know, people were, like, very intrigued, and they wanted to understand how other people could have done it based off of my knowledge on doing it in the past. So I thought I'd translate it over. Again, I'm not saying Michael D. Magee is categorically fake. What I'm saying is if I was to recreate his paranormal activity, that's how I would do it. But what do you think? Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below while you're down there. Be sure to jump to get the hell out of that like button if you have not already. Subscribe if you're new. And until next time, I'll speak to you later. Peace.